Good morning, everyone.
Boy,
Hello. Thank you so much. Is it Promise?
Yes,
Thank you, Promise.
you're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all again. I know we skipped our January meeting, and so hopefully everyone's having a good start to the new year so far. Thank you for making time to meet today. If you will, before we jump into our agenda, which is a little bit on the lighter side, if we could do a quick roll call just to do a short, quick round of introductions, make sure we have everybody recorded for Rachel. So I'll just start with my screen and kind of go clockwise. Tim, you have the honor of starting us off. If you'll just say your name and role and whether you're a voting or non-voting member.
I'm Tim Love, Buncombe County voting member.
Thank you. Vanaya, you are up next. Is it Vanya? Vanya.
Sorry, yeah, it's Vania Ramos Ponce from the Western Women's Business Center. I'm a business consultant here.
And you're a non-voting member, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank, you're up next.
good morning. Frank McGowan, City of Asheville, staff and voting member.
Perfect, thank you. Dee?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dorothea Williams. I am President, CEO of D. Williams and Company, Inc., and also for Eagles Wings Community Development Corporation. I'm a city appointee, and I'm a voting member.
Perfect, thank you. Carl?
Hi, I'm Carl Alguire. I am the Asheville City appointee, voting member.
Thank you. Hunter?
Good morning. I'm Hunter Gooseman with ERC. I am a Buncombe County appointee and a voting member.
Thank you. One of our newer members. Let's see, Kelly?
Kelly Foster, Mountain BizWorks, non-voting member.
Thank you. See, moving on, Nikki?
Good morning, Nikki Reed. I am staff with the City of Asheville in the Community and Economic Development Department, and I'm a voting member.
Thank you. Rachel?
Good morning, everyone. Rachel Nygaard here, Buncombe County staff in the Strategic Partnerships Department, voting member.
Awesome. Tara?
Good morning, I'm Tara Brown, and I am not a voting member. I'm with Self Help Credit Union.
Thank you. Yaslin?
Good morning, Jocelyn Gonzalez. I'm with Mountain BizWorks and I'm a non-voting member.
Perfect. And I think I am the last one to go. So my name is Maui Vang. I am the chair of MCCF, a county appointee, and I am a voting member. So I think we got everybody. Hopefully everyone is present. And so with that, we have a lighter agenda for today. So we'll just kind of jump right in. We have some few updates and then also just a couple of old business items from last time. So with that, let's start off with looking at the minutes from the December 2nd meeting, the last one that we had. If hopefully everybody had a chance to look through that. We'll take motions to approve the minutes. If then nobody has any questions or objections. Yes, Rachel?
I noticed that I left my own self off the attendance list last time. So my question logistically is, if we're going to make that correction, can city staff make that quick update, or do you want me as secretary to send over a new copy?
I think we can make that adjustment really quick, Rachel.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem.
I was trying to make errors in my secretary duties in case anyone else might want to step into that role.
I mean, you had to catch your own errors. That's how good you are.
I think are you the owner? I am not the owner. Who's the owner? Hang on one sec.
drop me a line after if there's anything I could do to clean that up. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Thank you. And aside from that, are there any other questions or changes to the minutes from anyone? No? All right. So we'll entertain motions to approve the minutes.
I so move.
Thank you, Carl. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Hunter. All right, all in favor, raise your hand. All right. And any opposed? Raise your hand. All right. Motion passes. Thank you, everybody. Quick and easy. All right, and I think we might be getting some feedback or some audio from maybe someone's camera. So maybe if we can just, for those who are not speaking at the moment, can just turn the microphone off. That will probably help with audio quality a little bit. Perfect. So let's move along. We're gonna get some updates from Nikki about the conversation regarding the Asheville City Legal Advisor. So Nikki, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you so much. So after our December meeting of this group, we had identified some next steps on how to engage the city's legal department, and that is Janice Ashley with the city's legal department, to assist in the updates that we were looking to make with our rules of procedure. And those general updates had been discussed by this committee and even some working groups last fall. And so Frank and I met with Janice. This was mid-December, really before the holidays. And what we understand from Janice right now is that she is in the midst of working on the city's ARPA agreement for the additional funding. And so she is really focused in on that. And she has asked that she finished that document before really getting into the duties and service conversation or the rules of procedure document. And so, of course, working with attorneys, we know that I like to follow rather than lead. And so in this case, we certainly want to be cognizant of how Janice wants to proceed. And so she is going to finalize that ARPA agreement, allow that process to really take place. And then we'll pick up where we left off with respect to the rules of procedure. So I'm afraid it's not, it's a little slower than I think we anticipated, but that is sometimes the nature of having legal review on documents that stand for a long time, and then changes are forthcoming because of the greater amount of funding. And so I'm just looking back at my notes from that conversation with Frank and Janice. And so I think that is really the summary of that conversation. So I am happy to kind of keep this as a standing item for this committee, because I know we're all very committed in ensuring that we have appropriate rules of procedure with a clear understanding of the authority of this committee and what our guardrails are, so to speak. And so I think we can, if that makes sense, to have this be a standing item on the agenda. And also I want to note that in our previous conversations, we had talked about ensuring that this committee get advance information if there are any proposed changes for the rules of procedure, and then also engaging in our partners who are party to the rules, the duties and services agreement. So I'll be very cognizant of that process as we move forward to ensure that we have adequate time for this committee to review any of those changes or to engage our partners if there's changes needed for the duties and services agreement. So big summary is really that ARPA contract development is still underway for the city. Janice is working on that and wants to complete that, and then we'll be ready to tackle the rules of procedure where we left off, and then see if that leads into any updates to the duties and services agreement that we would do in tandem with our partners. Happy to have this as a standing agenda item, and so that I can report out each month on progress. But that's it. I'll take any questions, but I think there's really just more to come, and we're committed to the process going forward, but wanting to take legal's lead here.
Perfect. That was a great summary. Thank you so much, Nikki. If anybody has any questions or thoughts or comments, we'll take those. But I also just wanted to ask Nikki if there's any help or assistance or anything that you need from the committee during this time.
Appreciate that, Maui, certainly. And I think what would be really helpful for us is that, Buncombe County has really helped. They've kind of charted the course here for how these ARPA funds can both meet the intent of the ARPA regulations as well as have an effective working relationship with the service providers that will be managing the funds. And so I know that it is likely that I'll be reaching out to Tim and Rachel once Janice has spent some time on the ARPA contract that the city is doing. We may need to huddle to really make sure that we're all rowing in the same direction with respect to our legal agreement for the ARPA contract and the county's legal agreement. And so that's something that we can follow up with maybe in a small working group with just the city staff and the county staff. And then otherwise, I think it was really helpful last fall when we had some other small working groups that Tim pulled together, that others pulled together to really make suggested edits to the rules of procedure. And so I'm thinking that's kind of where I need to start is really, I think what it would look like is potentially working with county staff to pull together a meeting with county legal, help Janice walk her through how that contract came together for the county's ARPA, and just make sure we have kind of a mirrored agreement there. So Tim, Rachel, putting you on the spot there, but I think that sounds like a perfectly reasonable approach, if that makes sense to you both as well.
Certainly.
Yep.
Buncombe County government established the agreement with Mountain BizWorks for expanding Mountain Community Capital Fund with a period of performance that went active April 1, 2022. So we've got, we're coming up on a year here shortly of having that active. I think we've made those written agreements available to the city of Asheville. And if it would be helpful for like an attorney to an attorney conversation, happy to do that as well.
Thank you, Rachel. That's fantastic.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rachel and Nikki, to both of you, and Nikki, especially you, for championing these conversations and, relaying the updates back to us. This has been a few times that you've given us some updates, so we appreciate you. And yeah, if there's anything else that we can help you with, just let us know. So that's exciting, and definitely understand the legal mode of working there. So we'll be patient. All right, I think that covers our old business part of the agenda. So if there are no other comments on those two items, we will move into the new business section. So this first part of the news business section is upcoming leadership changes. Left it kind of vague, but I believe we have two noteworthy changes to touch on today. One I will address. The other one, Frank, I don't know if you want to mention the staffing change with Francia and the transition there, just so we can all be on the same page.
Sure, I can talk about that now. Francia Laguerre is no longer with the city. Promise Bozeman has stepped in this morning. She'll be the support that you'll see from now going forward. So just wanted to make y'all aware of that. And that's it.
Perfect, thank you. So glad to have our support today. Warm welcome from Rachel. And then the kind of big news from my end is that as of today, I am unfortunately, reluctantly having to make the hard decision to step down as your chair of the Mountain Community Capital Fund, and also from the committee altogether. Kind of put some long, hard thought to this for the past couple of months, and just had some exciting changes on my end from a professional, personal, business changes in my life. And it's been an amazing journey these past, I think, 7 years, or I'm sorry, 7 months, not 7 years. 7 months that I've had the pleasure and the honor of serving as the chair on this committee, seen some exciting progress that we've made, just had the pleasure of partnering with many of you, both individually and collectively here in the group, but kind of with the increased projects that I've taken on, just taking a reassessment and inventory of all the different ways that I'm volunteering my time and wanting to make an impact. I think it's time to kind of streamline those a bit. And so unfortunately, I'll be taking a step back from MCCF during this time, but I definitely look forward to continuing to partner with you all. As you may know, I'm pretty active in the local entrepreneurial ecosystem. The exciting news from that end is that I am now the vice chair of the Hatch ABL Foundation, also called Hatch Innovation Hub, based in downtown Asheville. And so I'll probably continue to work with many of you on this call through Hatch in my new role there. And so I fully anticipate continuing to collaborate, see you at various meetings, and we'll continue to champion the mission of MCCF, right, which is to broaden access to capital, particularly for under-resourced founders and founders of color. That is a mission that's very dear to my heart. So I will continue to champion that wherever I go, and just feel like there's so much potential for the MCCF and just the people here who are passionate and dedicated to this work. So I have full faith in this committee. I know there'll be a process in nominating and searching for a new chair and a new committee member. If I can support in any way, I'm definitely here to help with that transition. And I'm just excited to see the impact that you all will continue to make, and just the great work that you're doing as stewards of this multi-million-dollar fund and impact in our community. So with that, that's kind of the big announcement from my end. If there are any questions or comments, we can certainly take those at this time.
I, for one, will miss you, Valerie.
Thank you, Frank.
You did a great job. Leadership.
Thank you, and kudos to you. Behind the scenes, Mr. Frank has been super helpful in keeping me on task. So I appreciate partnering with you, Frank, and thank you for all your help and time and energy there.
You're welcome.
And I'll
Nikki?
echo that, absolutely. And so Maui, thank you so much for your volunteerism, and appreciate that you will be sitting and serving as vice chair for the Hatch Innovation. I think it's such a great organization, great work coming out of that space. And so we're really excited for you to take on that role and really help to connect MCCF to those hatchlings. Is that I don't know how else you might refer to the folks participating in that opportunity. But thank you again for your service, and we appreciate what you've offered here to MCCF. And so I think it just is a question too, and Tim, maybe this is something you can speak to, is we certainly want to look at the next steps here. And so maybe Tim or Rachel, if you can speak to, I think Maui was a county appointee, so we may just want to unpack a little bit of the process that you see moving forward in that regard.
I'm glad to chime in. Maui was a county appointee, so we'll advertise the opening similar to what we did with Hunter Guzman, who's recently joined us. And then our process for boards and commissions is that after a certain time period, or when we get enough applications to warrant interviews, our board will conduct interviews, and that's the Board of Commissioners, and then ultimately make an appointment. So there's a little bit of a process there. Application window, try to get the word out, commissioner interviews, and then an appointment. So that said, that would not, that appointment would be for just someone to sit on the committee. It's not a direct appointment to be chair. And so this group will need to go through a process to establish a chair. And we should discuss that process today moving forward. I'm currently the vice chair, so I can serve as interim chair in the short term and help us navigate that. But those are all discussions we can have today.
I think how it happened last summer when Jeff transitioned off is we scheduled to have the nomination for the next meeting. And so you as Vice Chair Tim led that next meeting. And then essentially I was confirmed at that time. So I don't know if it makes sense to kind of give everybody this next month to sort of process and come up with any nominations that they want to propose. I know it's only been 7 months, but it feels like a long time to me.
So on this topic, at this point, we don't have an agenda item to make nominations. We could certainly edit the agenda on the fly, make nominations today. If that's uncomfortable for anyone, please speak up. Would y'all like to make nominations today, or would you like to take some time to think about it? Doesn't matter to me.
What if we email our nominations to you, Tim, or contact you between now and the next meeting with either self-nomination or nomination of another person? And then you can bring in the names that you received and have it as an agenda item next time.
That works for me. Any additional thoughts, edits? Hearing none, please email me your nominations and we'll have an agenda item for our next meeting. At which point, we'll reveal the nominations and we'll have a vote at that meeting, unless there's a concern. If so, speak out between now and then. So hopefully at the next meeting, we'll be able to nominate a chair and we'll keep the ball rolling. In the short term, I'll serve as interim and get us prepared for the next meeting. All right.
Thank you for your input, Rachel, and that sounds like a great plan to move forward. So if there are no more comments or questions on that agenda item, we will proceed to the last one. So we will open it up at this time to our lending partners to see if anybody has any loan requests to propose today. I think I heard from Yasmin that there's none from Mountain Bismarck, correct?
No requests. Thank you.
Perfect. I think, Vanya, you're the only other lending partner on the call today. Any requests from your end?
No, thank you so much.
Perfect. Did I see a raised hand? Carl?
Yes, I was just kind of wondering, we have not, there's been a pretty dead stop in our deal flow. And it's been months now. And I'm wondering what we know about that, what we do about that. And if any of the lenders can shed some light on that for me, I'd appreciate it.
That's a great question, Carl. Thank you so much for proposing that. And I'll certainly, Yasmin, defer to you. If I can take a quick stab at that from my end of my shallow understanding, there's probably still deals happening, in particularly through Mountain Bismarck, but they may not be coming across our desk because of the size of the loans. So correct me if I'm wrong, Yasmin, if you want to shed some more light on that.
We've from our end, we've usually the first quarters, one of our busiest seasons or times within the lending team at Mountain Bismarck, and we have had some deals come through, but most of them have been just deals that we've been working through for the last quarter and just closing those out. But we do have quite a few in the works now in underwriting. So hopefully in the next month we'll bring some for approval.
Thank you. And I also had met with, I think I sent this to you, Maui, Erica McGilly from Partner Community Capital. This is a lending group that I have worked with in the past with some small businesses here in Western North Carolina. They're a conscious capital based group and seem to be right up our alley in terms of, you know, the kind of lenders they're seeking to support. And I wondered if additional partners, lending partners, might also help facilitate. You know, my concern is, you know, our budget's grown significantly, and if we're not able to place that commitment, I'm afraid that that money will, you know, dematerialize here next year. So is that something that we would be willing to entertain?
Thank you, Carl, for bringing that up. And before we jump to you, Dee, for comments, I just want to say thank you for introducing Erica to me. And I dropped the ball on my end. I haven't reached out to her, but I have put some more thought into that. And so maybe we'll let some of the others chime in first, and I can share a little bit about my thoughts or questions around there. Dee, would you like to speak up? You might be on mute.
Thank you. I've got a clock chiming over here on the wall, so I do apologize. But one question, it's the deal size. I know that there are certain loans that don't have to come across the table, and we know about them. And I understand they're in the pipeline. But just wanted to make sure that we would get the packages prior to the meeting going forward. And also, before we brought another capital partner in to disperse, we have 2 other CDFIs, 2 or 3 besides Mountain Biz Cap in the room. So I guess I'm just wondering about, would they be the logical partners to go to package or find lenders? Or are you going to expand it beyond the CDFIs that we have right now into another group? I don't know if they're a CDFI. It sounds like they're a socially conscious group of private investors, but that would be my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee. Tim?
To Dee's question about the decision on expansion, I mean, I think that's something this group that's on the camera right now should discuss in terms of, you know, what's the process, if not defined in our governance documents, what type of vetting would need to occur. So I think that would be a joint discussion, Dee. I don't think it's like a, you know, someone off in a corner office making that decision. But so look forward to that conversation. Personally, I welcome more lenders in the space, assuming they're the right lenders and the focus is right, because we do have to get the word out. One thing I would add, Carl, you spoke to like the funds dematerializing, totally valid concern. Some of the funds that have been put into this are ARPA related funds, and so there are some timelines on those that we have to be aware of, but just wanted to mention that. And Rachel, feel free to chime in if I've muddled that sufficiently.
Yeah, I don't want to get ahead of Karen, so I'll be brief, but yes, the American Rescue Plan Act, COVID recovery funding invested by the county, and then also the city does have a December 2024 and December 2026 different time thresholds within it. That agreement is written with Mountain BizWorks in collaboration with Mountain Community Capital Fund, and BizWorks has committed that they will be able to fully deploy those funds within time frame.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Rachel and Tim. Karen?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that PCAP is in fact a CDFI. And actually the person who heads up a lot of their, oversees their commercial lending used to work for Self-Help and is great. And anyway, I think they'd be a good addition. And we've looked at a few loans recently but they weren't eligible because of location. You know, they were interested in the program, but they weren't actually in the geography that's eligible. So, but we are working on, we had some funds, I don't know if you know about these, but some funds, other funds for a below market interest rate for small business loans, and those are almost out. And so we are working now and looking at other, going back to sort of these, you know, our sort of standard lending and lending products. And so we'll be out there as well.
You're to clarify from self-help, right? You're saying self-help will be a little bit more active once you guys deploy the new product, lending products.
Exactly.
Got it. And I know, Vanya, for you joined recently. I remember talking to Reggie like 3 months ago or so. So he was really excited to bring you on board. And I know that's been a ramp up period as you're kind of still getting acquainted with the local lending landscape and the needs of founders. Are there any developments from your end on, you know, any sort of time frame that you see your group becoming more active in the lending space here?
What we have done recently, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for asking, Maui. We are providing counseling, and most of the clients that come with us, they are on a very early stage of the business planning. They are not ready for a loan. Some of them are considering that they need funds, but that they are on a very, very early stage. And also what we want to do, we are planning right now to reach out to the community, especially we are talking to some institutions that are that work with Hispanic community around the 22 counties in the West. We are already planning at least 2 or 3 events like in February and in March, maybe in April as well, to try to let the community or spread the word, let the community know that we are here, because most of them, they don't know what we do, and they don't know that we are here to help, and that we do the lending and the technical assistance. And so we are now, I am reaching out to most of the organizations that I can see that are in the area. And also maybe if you, that is something that I would like to ask you, if you know some organization that will be willing to host an event so we can do a workshop. We could talk about how to get access to capital in Spanish or in English, and we also could do just like an informative sessions, just to let them know all the resources that we have. That is the plan that we have right now, and that we already have two events already confirmed with 2 organizations, but we are working on that.
Thank you, Vanya. And before I come to you, Tara, thank you for that update. It sounds like you're still kind of laying the groundwork for getting the word out, kind of establishing yourself as a capital partner, if you will. And so it sounds like we need to get you plugged in probably to some more organizations and resources. I know, you know, you asked me if you want to chime in, you feel free to, but you don't have to. As far as like event space and venue hosting goes, I mean, Hatch we're able to do that. And so maybe you and I can talk offline, and, you know, we can get you plugged in at Hatch if you're looking for a place to host sessions, and then, you know, maybe collaborate in getting the word out, marketing, kind of newsletters, you know, that kind of thing too. Stepping back, I feel like that's probably one of our larger challenges, or common challenges on this group, is that there's money there. We're just having trouble finding the right people to access and apply for that money. And so how do we get that word out? And I remember even when I joined over a year ago, that was already something that was on the table. And so, even as I'm stepping off, that's probably something that you all as a committee can continue to consider is, we've kind of built this product and maybe we do need to tweak that product and bring in additional partners to essentially distribute that product out. But as of right now, the bottleneck is essentially marketing that product that we have. And so that's kind of how I see currently how it's playing out. But Vanya, you and I, we can maybe email and talk offline to see if we can get you plugged in.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Ms. Tara?
Thank you so much. I did just want to bring up on the point of getting additional lenders that when Jeff Kaplan was still the chair, I had a conversation with Thread Capital about also potentially being added. And at that time, when we were looking at the governance documents, I'm pretty sure we made sure that the language was flexible enough to add additional partners. So I just wanted to make sure that with transition and everything, if we're talking about adding new CDFIs, that, any one of those would be at least part of the conversation. And I don't know the process or whatever we want to do, but I just wanted to put them back out there. And I'm glad Karen was here to speak to self-help's lending, because I was going to do that, but glad you popped in, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Frank, you had some thoughts?
Well, certainly, I think marketing is something that needs to be strengthened across the board, certainly from the lenders themselves, but the city, certainly plays a role in that too. So I'm going to talk to our communications and public engagement contact and see if we can do a little bit of a push on our end, explaining what the fund is, where it's available. I mean, we obviously have it on our website, and it directs to the lenders, but it's one of the best kept secrets of the city, and it's one of the best things we do as a supporting funder. So certainly we want to do our part to promote.
And I wanted to speak to Tim mentioned that he heard Mountain BizWorks is starting a new cohort in all Spanish, a Latino, and it's actually our first one, which we're really excited about. So it's essentially a group of entrepreneurs that meet regularly on a monthly basis over the course of 12 months. And they have access to different services such as coaching, other learning resources. They have guest speakers coming in as well. And at the end of the cohort, they receive $2,000 to use towards the cost of services, such as marketing and bookkeeping, accounting services, any of that. But they really get to work together for 12 months. And it's a peer-to-peer group. So yeah, really excited to start that. And if you guys have anybody that you think would be a good fit, we're looking at existing businesses, and so that way they can share their experiences with one another. So if you have any questions about it, you can let me know. But I see Dee has her hand up.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to, since we're talking about new services, we're rolling out, and I'm in design right now of a technical assistance and training component for ethnic minority business owners, particularly those who are here in Western North Carolina. We want to start in Asheville because we've got 70 churches that span from Murphy almost to Charlotte. And the pilot will be started here in Asheville, we hope by July 1. It's more hardcore stuff. It's not really a cohort stuff. It's a tell-do-show approach. And it's really what it's aiming at is meeting these folks right where they are and taking them where they need to go as far as scale, as far as technical proficiency, as far as bidding, contracting, and procurement. Model after I guess it's a proven method and we've been working with the Department of Commerce on it in Atlanta. So I just wanted to mention that. The developmental pipeline is something that's lacking. I know in my community it is, and so we hope we'll fill that void. So I wanted to just mention that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dee. Go ahead, Nikki.
So I wanted to piggyback on that because I think this is a great conversation to just be sharing and generating some ideas. And I also wanted to point to Dogwood Health Trust is working on their grant cycle right now, but their next cycle, which actually starts in April 3rd through October, I'm looking at the housing section online here because what caught my eye was that they're looking at construction trades workforce development. And so, and thinking about electrical, HVAC, masonry, things like that also require capital investments into concrete mixers, tools, things like that could be a good fit for MCCF too. So I'm just going to plant that seed, and if anyone has any ideas, I'll just pop a link into our chat right now with what I'm looking at, because it could be a great way to just leverage resources. And so if you take a look at that link that I just shared, you'll see that upcoming in April, there's a particular focus from Dogwood on construction trades workforce. And I know with our concerns with affordable housing, everything like that is related to supply. I mean, we're having conversations around housing supply in our department and really lamenting the lack of supply, and really, our construction trades workforce is something that I'm really curious about exploring and understanding better and identifying how we can support that, because in as much as housing really relies on those trades, so does city construction projects, be it buildings or roadways, et cetera. So, I mean, I think it's definitely within the city's wheelhouse to explore how we can leverage our opportunities to really create better outcomes for the populations that we're trying to serve while leveraging city procurement dollars, things like that, kind of what Dee was talking to about bids and procurement, things like that. So just wanting to share that out and let some of y'all who are partners really think about what opportunities could be leveraged.
Thank you, Nikki. That's exciting. Tim?
Yeah, definitely, Nikki. Thank you for sharing. And I think really timely, especially considering Tara and Dee, the conversations that we had last night at the Economic Development Impact Focus Area for the Reparations Commission. An ongoing topic is, building a base of vendors that can operate in a specific space. Trades comes up a lot amongst other topics. And so I think that's really great timing, and hopefully we can sync those things up. To pitch onto a different topic, Frank, as you're working on a communication, I'd love to collaborate with you on it. I think MCCF is like one piece of like the small business pipeline. And so I think where we could, in that communication, highlight a couple players in the space. MCCF is one space, but to get to MCCF, maybe you need to be going through a cohort program like Catalyst or some other. And then once you graduate out of MCCF, maybe into Eagle Markets Community Equity Fund, just kind of showing how those things work together or don't. I think it's a good opportunity to give more information. So don't want to make it too big, but don't want to miss the opportunity to talk about the different resources either. So.
Happy to coordinate on that.
Thank you both. Dee, you can speak, and then I have some exciting things to kind of piggyback on those things to share from my end. But go ahead, Dee.
Okay, just briefly, just wanted to mention, don't forget about Eagles Wings and some of us who are, I guess you would say, very old hands at this small business, minority business game. Some of us happen to be the ones who negotiated the first contracts for African Americans with the city and the county respectively, packaged the first SBA guarantee and direct loans in Western North Carolina as far as for African American companies. So please do not forget us. We are there and we are viable. So that's all I'd say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dee. And we appreciate all the work and planning and energy you've put in over the years. And so we definitely, we want to be all welcome and inclusive ecosystem. And I say we because, again, like I mentioned earlier, we all see a lot of needs and a lot of gaps in our small but vibrant ecosystem. I think one of the threads that I picked up repeatedly over the past few years of being in various roles and organizations is that there's a lot of good-intended, good-hearted organizations that also have some actual dollars to them, but there are gaps and overlaps. And to kind of sort through all that is such a task. And so, even from the Hatch Fund or we talked, Tim and I, remember we were meeting with the Spark Tank folks. That's kind of like the big elephant in the room is we've got founders, we've got resource organizations, and how do we plug the right founders into the right organizations and mix the programs that are duplicative or are overlapping, and then streamline those that we need to kind of double down on. So the exciting, cool thing is that with Hatch, we've kind of formed this hub partners, if you will. And so we have a few partners, the 5 or 6 of us at the table at the moment. So working with, groups like Mound Bisworks, Black Wall Street, Eagle Markets Development Group, and then even some folks kind of out west in Silva. And then we're going to try to all come to the Spark Tank regathering in February to kind of see how those partners are operating. So I think there's some movement. Like the point I want to make is there's some movement towards unifying the ecosystem and streamlining and working better together. And again, I see MCCF as a vital part and piece of that. So the task before us all is how do we create a unified narrative that is helpful for our founders to navigate. So again, we'll be working and collaborating together, going into the future as we kind of take on that task. But just appreciate all your help here in all your various ways, getting the word out. So with that, if there's no more comments or questions on sort of the new loans morphing into new partners, morphing into new new projects conversation, I think we can probably bring the meeting to a close and land the plane here. No additional thoughts or comments. Perfect. So at this time, we'll move to public comment. Promise, is there anybody who is waiting to weigh in?
No, there's no one on the public input page.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. So thank you everybody for the meeting today. I think we'll end early. Again, it's been a great journey being part of this group, and I will continue to cheer you on from afar. And please, don't be a stranger when we see each other out there. So with that, we'll say goodbye for today. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, Valerie.
Good luck.